Hello and welcome to Mind Your Mind podcast. Here in Mind Your Mind podcast, we talk about life, mind, universe, everything, and literally nothing at all. My name is Ozan. I'm with Henna as always.
Hello.
Plus, we have a lovely guest today. Her name is Réka Tóka, and she's an expat coach and trainer. She has been helping so many expats around the world to find their new home, settle down in new environments, and adapt to new surroundings, new challenges, which will be the main theme for today. Reka, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm very excited to be here.
We are very
Welcome,
excited that you
Reka.
are here.
Yeah, it's truly an honor that we have you with us. And the topic that we are going to discuss is really, really relevant and also very close to my heart, which I'm going to talk about later, of course, how. So, yeah, let's get started.
Let's get started. So, Reka, you've been coaching expats, helping them with their challenges in their new environments, how to adapt to these places, and so on. Can you tell me about more, like in more detail, what you do currently do and how come you end up with this very specific area?
Yeah, sure thing. I think I will start with the second question because then it will make more sense. So I traveled quite a lot during high school, and then during university, I was fortunate enough to have spent some time abroad with scholarships, like summer university, one semester abroad with these scholarship programs, which are in Europe. And then I started to work full time, but then there was something always, tingling me like let's explore. And then in 2019 I moved abroad, and I always say that's my last choice because I don't plan to move back to Hungary for various reasons, but that's basically where it all started. And I used to work in HR, and I used to train colleagues, I used to train new joiners, and later I trained clients as well, so it grew really dear to my heart, and I wanted to learn how to do that better. And when I moved abroad in 2019, I moved to Prague, and I got a job at corporate, but still, I got these chances to train people, and I loved it. So I decided that I want to be better at it. And I applied for a course on how to become a trainer officially and everything. And there I met with coaching and team coaching. And by that time, I was already a team lead at the corporate job. So I was like, okay, that's also useful, to work with my team better. And then I just went down the rabbit hole, and I did three different courses, both on coaching and training. And yeah, the love came from there. And while I was living abroad, so I moved abroad in 2019, and then soon after my move, COVID came. So we all stayed at home, and I started to be more and more involved with the polyglot community, with expat communities. So expats are basically people who live abroad. Um, and then it just started to, intertwine. I worked in a multicultural company, a multicultural team. I worked with Hungarians, Turkish people, and Romanians, and also people from different countries in bigger teams. And I started to work with them even more closely. And then when I finished my schools for training and coaching, I started to apply that, and I started to take clients pro bono to help them. And many times, people who lived in Prague at that time came to me with these, struggles to find friends, to get out of their comfort zone, or just to really find their spot, find their space. They didn't feel at home. They didn't really know how to move forward. And as I worked more and more with that, my full work shifted towards this. So we moved away from Prague. Currently, I live in Belgium, and that was the big step when I shifted. And now I do this as a business, and I am not just taking pro bono clients. I'm taking paying clients, sort of, if you want to call it like that. And yeah, now I focus on expats just because I see how many people need help with this, how many people decide to go abroad to follow their loved ones or to follow their career or just for an adventure, and then they don't see what they need to prepare for, and then they face the reality of this whole life abroad, and then they feel stuck and they need help to get out of this funk and move forward and find their home, like the new home, find their satisfaction, find their new community. And that's where I come in.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Reka. I think that resonates so much. I would go a little deeper into your journey and would like to ask you, uh, like, I think a lot of people expect relocation to feel like an adventure. They see it as an exciting opportunity, and of course it is. But no one really prepares you for the internal shifts that happen. So, was there a moment in your own journey that really cracked something open for you, something that made you realize that you are changing and you need to share this with people?
Yeah, definitely. So I had two big moves. The first one I moved to Prague, and the second one I moved to Liège, Belgium, where we currently live. And the first time I moved for career and I moved for personal reasons. And I did take it as an adventure. I was like, okay, I go to the country where they hire me first. And I wanted to wanted to keep doing what my profession was, and I did. I managed to find a job there. Um, and I moved alone with two suitcases and a backpack. So it was a totally different experience than when we moved here to Belgium, when I moved with my now fiance and our dog, and we moved because of his career opportunity. So now I was sort of the tag along spouse, which is a totally different scenario. And both times there were up and downs, but I think the biggest point where I realized, okay, I'm a different person now, and this is much more than just an adventure, was when I lived alone in Prague, and like totally alone, no flatmates, no nothing.
Okay.
And I was just like, okay, what do I actually like to do? What do I actually want to do with my day, with my month, with my life? And that gave me the opportunity to explore this whole thing. That was the moment when I really got into languages again, when I really got into this whole becoming a trainer, becoming a coach, becoming an expat helper. Um, because before that, I always lived with someone. I always conformed to other people, and I always was comfortable in my own country. I knew everything. I walked the streets, which I knew. I went to the same post office all the time. And in Hungary, I lived in many places, but still, I am this habitual person who always goes to the same bakery, who always goes to the same lady at the post office. And getting out of that bubble showed me like, hey, do you really want to do this? Like, do you want to do this because that's you, or do you do this because this is your habit and this is what you know? And that happened in Prague, and I'm forever grateful for that. Um, yeah, and the move to Belgium, it also showed me a bunch of things about myself, and it also brought the classic expat journey again. Every move is different, but they are all the same in one sense, meaning that you go through the same path. And when we moved here, I needed to face again how much getting out of your comfort zone shifts your personality and shifts your whole world, basically.
Right. And you did get some culture shock, of course, but what exactly is culture shock? We all are familiar with this term, but it gets thrown around a lot. But what does it really feel like inside a person? Of course, you miss your favorite foods, you struggle with the language, all that is there. But beyond all this, there must be a very deeper meaning of culture shock.
Yeah, I think the deeper layer of it is just meeting with things which are not familiar to you. And I think cultural shock can be happening to you in your own country as well. Um, and yeah, like in big countries, like Brazil or US, where you go from one part of it to another, you can face a culture shock. And when I last saw this is when my brother was visiting me this spring, and we haven't seen each other for a while, and he never visited me in Prague, but he visited us in Belgium, and we were walking on the Sunday market, and we have a huge market, like they close down the streets and so on, and the people are talking different languages. It's very multicultural here, so you hear Spanish, Italian, Chinese, Arabic, French, Dutch, German, all the things. And for me, I already filter it out. Like I'm so used to it. I'm just walking and checking out where can I find what I want to buy. And we walked, and my brother was every 2 minutes. He's like, oh my God, did you hear? That was another language. Oh my God, they have this. Oh my God, that's another stall with another culture of food. And I just saw this sheer excitement and shock and this whole realization that like there are so many different things in one spot. And yeah, that was, I think, the display of the cultural shock.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And of course, you have met so many people now who have been going through changes and trying to adapt in a new country, going through culture shock. Is there also an emotional angle to it? Like, if they just feel disoriented, uh, they face an earthquake inside, like, their whole identity is changed because, of course, when you move from your home country to a foreign country, you lose more than just your routine. You lose a lot more, like your emotional anchors, uh, your social mirror. Everything changes. Sometimes you feel invisible, sometimes you feel hyper visible, like you are in the arena. It can be disturbing. Do you have an experience coaching such people, and what do you say to them?
Hmm. Yes, I had a few clients who were really struggling with the new culture they landed in. And I personally was struggling with this place when we first ended up here. And it's so coaching and mentoring is not so much of telling them what to do, but like offering them a plate of things which they can pick and choose from. So
Mhm.
I wouldn't tell them like do this or do that, but I do make them see that this is normal, that they are not the first and only people who go through this. And what we essentially worked on is to find teeny tiny things which they like in the new place, which they are thankful for, which they appreciate. You can hate the new place, but I'm sure you can find at least 3 things which are good for you there. So when we first arrived, we struggled a lot at the start, even though we prepared for this. And I'm working with this, so I of course I knew what to prepare for. But still, we had the shock. Still, we had the crash, which is part of the expat journey, and we had it very very soon. And we did the same. Like, okay, we reminded ourselves with my partner what is good, what is it that we are thankful for, what is it that we were missing in Prague or didn't like in Prague and have here or have it better. So one of the things we didn't like in Prague is that people can be very rude, not because they hate you, but that's just their behavior. Like they don't really care, if it's not their business, they don't care. And here people are so polite and so
Mhm.
kind and trying to help at all situations. So whenever, it's raining for 4 days and you don't see the sun and you start to be grumpy, okay, but at least we are here and people are nice. So these tiny things, yeah, these help a lot. And of course, it's step by step. It's teeny tiny things, and then you build from there. Like you try to find one more, and there are places when you don't find so many, so you will figure out that it's maybe not your spot and you need to move again. That happens, but generally to move towards acceptance, this is usually the way. But I'm curious if for you, what was culture shock, or how did you handle your culture shock? Because I know both of you are expats as well.
Yeah. So for me, it was, Ozan, would you like to go first? Maybe I'll have a long thing to say.
Okay, okay. Yeah, well, I had two as well. First one is when I survived around 10 years of Hungary, and then the second one to Netherlands. And I didn't expect this much culture shock because you think it's Europe, right? Like you in US, Henna, but Europe is such a small place, just packed together, but it's just so multicultural. For me, both of them was just devastating.
Mhm.
It was crazy to experience those. I think when I went to Hungary, I also saw a little bit like the pessimism in people, and when you're too optimistic, that they're looking at you a bit weirdly. So it was really weird that people look at you in a weird way. So what you think people perceive you is completely different there. So you have to learn and understand how people think, and it takes years. And when you adapt that, after I adapted that, I moved to Netherlands, and it was completely different. People are smiling, everybody's smiling, uh, but it's much different, but it was more on the surface. So again, connecting with the people was quite a lot. What I saw is like it really takes years. And once you learn a little bit of language, you understand more how they think, because language also teaches you a lot about their point of views and their things and their reactions. It might look very weird from point of time, point to point, but once you know their language, then it makes more sense to you. But in both cases, it was quite devastating for me, especially the first year, which I want to ask more about it later, about what patterns you see in other clients as well, if they're similar, if they're different. But that was for me. What do you think, Hannah?
Well, for me, I think there was no culture shock as such, because the language is the same. Like English has always been, although it's not the first language in India, but English is a very popular language, used by a lot of people in India, and I had no problem adjusting with the language here. Uh, Food, again, of course, you do miss that authentic Indian taste, but you do have a lot of options here to eat. Uh, and also, I have been exposed to a lot of American food in India as well, so not much of a difference. Uh, Also, because I moved after my marriage, after getting married, I moved from India to US, and I always had my husband beside me. So it was always like, I always had an anchor to support me wherever I am. Exploring new places was easy because we were always together. And gradually everything became better. So there was no culture shock as such, except for the fact that I really do deeply miss my home country sometimes. And that's natural because my roots are still in India. That will never change. And you know, the real shock for me, if I talk about, was, I had a thriving career for almost 7 years before moving. And it would be a lie if I say that, the transition of my career was smooth. It hurt when I couldn't find a job at first. And I often found myself grieving the life that I left behind, just because, I had a great career there. I was earning well, I was self independent, and suddenly now I was dependent on what my husband was earning. So that was a shock. But slowly, things have gotten better. I have grown, and I have come to cherish the new experiences and opportunities that this country has given me. And honestly, what I have now, I wouldn't have had it if I was still in India. The sense of independence, the kind of family life that I've been able to build, the emotional growth I have experienced, so much of it would have looked completely different. In a way, this life abroad is a wish come true for me, because I had always imagined what it would be like to live outside India, to experience another way of being, another way of thinking. So even though it came with its own set of pain and confusion, I think it also feels like something that I always quietly hoped for. And that's how I've been raised. I've always been someone who loves exposure, someone who was raised to chase better things, richer experiences in life, and while also at the same time being contented with what we have. So I think if I would just say to my listeners who are listening right now, that if you are navigating a transition, it may not be easy, but I hope that this reminds you that transformation takes time, and your story can have both longing and gratitude at once.
I'm so glad you brought this up because one thing which often people don't talk about is the grief and the grieving process of a move. And it will happen with every move and every transition. And I'm not a psychotherapist and I'm not a grief counselor, but I lost many people close to me. So I learned a lot about grief and how to handle it. And I find that the steps to go over this grieving process are very, very similar to what we need when we are on an expat journey. So they say that after you lose someone, you need to live 1 year and experience every holiday and every season without them to feel normal again, to pass the first big block of the grief, to actually be able to let someone go. And I find the same is true for the expat journey. And I always say to my clients and on my webinars and everything to give the new place 1 year, because in 1 year you can experience every part of that culture in sense of everyday habits, holidays, traditions, food, everything like that, and you can experience every season there, and then you will be able to see if you really want to stay there, if you really can fit yourself there. It might take longer to feel like you belong there. It might take forever, but after a year, it's easier and you feel more yourself, sort of. And it was interesting because in our last move, I really felt this. And I already accepted, and I went through the stages before, but after the 1 year passed, I just felt like something lifted. It was like a switch, and I didn't even recognize it at first. I'm like, I just feel good. I just feel good. I feel okay with this. And then I was thinking, oh yeah, a year passed. So yeah, grief is absolutely normal, and some people feel it more, some people feel it less. Some people feel it so heavy that they decide to go back to their previous country. And you can feel grateful and happy and grieve at the same time. It's also normal. So it can live together.
It's so crazy, like when you talk about grief, you're actually talking about so many things at the same time, right? It's not just the place, but you leave behind people as well. You leave behind a workplace. If you were working before, I had a huge grief for my workplace because I was working in a great team before, and losing those guys was really hard for me. All the friends and so on, and of course, everything that you're used to. So used to speaking a language, and now you're not. Everything at once becomes this huge ball of grief, and then you just want to put all the blame of that to your new surroundings, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you get bitter and you blame the new place for all the things you lost.
Yeah, whatever happens, you just blame the new place.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was my experience as well. And actually, first year since I'm here, every single day I thought about going back to Hungary or to Turkey or whatever. But I'm like, yeah, let's give it a more chance. Let's give it a more chance. And I saw that 1 year threshold with what you were talking about as well. Like
Yeah. You
something is
felt it
just
too?
lifted. Exactly. But that brings me to my question actually, because you said like everyone was different, but it's all the same.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's so crazy. You talked about this grieving process, which is 1 year time period. Like how much do you see from your clients also there? How much their experience is similar to each other, and what kind of patterns and challenges are they all facing at the same time? What do you see those?
So what I meant by every movie is different, but they are all the same, is that situations are different and how you personally process it, what is your why behind the whole moving is crucial, and it will be all different for everyone. So why you went abroad, why Henna went abroad, or why I went abroad is different. And your move to Hungary probably had a different why than your move to the Netherlands. Same with me. When I went to Prague, it was different than when I came here. And this why can be a very good anchor. Hannah, you were asking before that this is a very good anchor to know your why. But how they are all the same is that you will go through the same phases with the move, and sometimes you will feel it stronger and sometimes it's weaker, but everyone goes through the phases of excitement when you prepare. It's sort of the craziness, the to-do lists, the
Mhm.
oh my God, I need to deal with this, the I don't know what to expect, and reading Facebook and Reddit until 2 in the morning to gather as much information as you can, which is sometimes not the right information you actually need.
Mhm.
But we are in the frenzy, we are preparing, we are looking at it, but we don't know what will happen after. Then we arrive, and there comes the honeymoon phase when everything seems happy and new, and oh my God, they have it here, and this is new, and I didn't know this, and the sun is shining, and everything is beautiful, and I have a new life. And all the changes, all the transitions, you just feel the excitement, the newness of it. So that's why it's the honeymoon phase.
Hmm.
And then comes the moment when it all crashes down and you start to feel the grief and you start to feel the change, where you have the culture shock, where you have the moments of doubt, the bitterness, this is the moment, the crash, where most of the people decide to move back to their previous country or to their home country. It generally comes around 3 to 6 months after arrival. My last crash was 2 weeks. So it can differ. And sometimes you don't really feel it that much. When we moved to Prague, my crash, I didn't really feel it. It was mostly because of COVID. So I couldn't really differentiate why was it. So yeah, that comes after. And when you are over the crash, and if you decide to stay and not move back, then you start to be in this searching moment when you try to figure out how you can settle there, how you can love the new place, how you can make yourself work it out. And then comes the acceptance and basically the restart when you look at it. Okay, this is the situation, I made the decision, I'm not going back. Then how can I make it better? How can I make it work for me? And that's the last phase, and then comes the 1 year mark usually. And
Mhm.
after the 1 year mark, it's pretty much you get back to the everyday life, or you created yourself the new everyday life. And of course there are changes, but this is generally the base process of people, how they go through this, and you will get it every move. And if you decide at the crash that you move back, then it comes again, the preparation, the honeymoon, the reverse culture shock, because if you spend a few months in another place, things change and you
Right.
will miss out on things, and you go back and you don't go back to the place which you left.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
yeah.
so true. And I would just add here, what I feel is that you said that there's a honeymoon phase in which you are, happily exploring things, liking everything you see, even if it's a little shocking, but still trying to blend in. But after that phase is over and the new gets old, uh, there is a dip in your energy. There is, you start feeling bored and you start feeling kind of drained out, because I think it's because of our universal need of belonging, which is so hard to cultivate when you are an outsider. You really don't know who to talk to, how to talk to, and just, feel at home in that new country. So, how does that belonging happen? Of course, it has to start with acceptance. It has to start first with accepting, where you are geographically and where you are emotionally. So when you just accept that you have these emotions and you show some self compassion towards yourself, uh, is it like, you just start by little things, by building bridges, maybe just a weekly coffee with a neighbor, or creating a WhatsApp group with them, or even just saying hello to each other who is passing by. Just being consistent with these things, will it be enough to build connection with people and belonging in your new country?
It actually really depends on you. And this is
Mhm.
something we work on when people come to me for mentoring, because I do like this preparation to move abroad mentoring. Um, and I strongly believe, and I see it in my clients, that you can prepare for this building up the feeling at home. So before you move, you actually need to think about this. What will make me feel at home? What is something which I cannot let go? What is something which I need to feel normal, to feel like I am here, like I feel good here? And we actually talked about this as well with my partner before we moved. Okay, what is it that we really want? What is it that we don't want to let go, even though we are moving to a totally different place? And then we try to plan for it. And for example, one thing for me, I love pictures, like photos, and I need them on a wall. And I prepared them, like I printed some and I put them in frames, and we packed the frames. And when we arrived, I put them on the shelves. It took me to a few months to actually put some on the wall, but they were on the shelf already, because that made me feel like, okay, my loved ones are around me, you know? Or we really love dancing, and in advance he looked up all the studios and the schools where we could continue dancing, and on the first week we already went, because this is something which will connect you to the new place. For some people it can be plates and cutlery, or it can be that they have certain people with them, or they found a new spot for brunch and coffee on Saturday morning. That's something which was important for me as well. I need a spot to go for coffee on a weekend to meet up with friends. And finding friends took me a while, but now I have friends which I can go, whom I can invite on a coffee on a weekend. But you need to figure out in advance to speed up the process a little bit. What is it that is important to you? Maybe for you it's that every Sunday you like to go to the market, or every Saturday. Then you will look up, where is the market, what can I buy there? Or if it's really cooking for you, I have a friend who is really like a cooking person. She loves to cook. It relaxes her. She will need the shops where she can find the ingredients for the food she likes. So
Mm.
these little things you can think about in advance, and you can research in advance. And when you are there, it's not that you're frozen and need to figure out on the spot what to do, where to go, what to look for. But you know already, okay, I have a Saturday now. I don't have anyone to meet up with. Let's see, maybe there are some events where I can go and meet new people, or maybe I can go to the next city to explore that shop I was looking at online.
Mhm.
So these things are different for everyone, but you can prepare for this. And this will be the first bridge. And I loved that you said little bridges. Yes, the little bridges. This can be the first thing which you try. And then one thing will lead to the next one.
That's a quite deep question actually. Like what is home to you? Like where do you belong to, right? Like I think for everyone is different. Like can be the connections, it can be place, pictures, whatever. For me, like I always check for Starbucks. I always feel home when there's a Starbucks. So I'm from the city, right?
Mhm.
But also like sports clubs, when I found the tennis, I really felt like home because you see the same people, you create sort of like a habit, and seeing just the same people like couple times a week or month even just brings you some sort of familiarity. It's an
Yes.
interesting question. What is home to you, right?
And it is a tricky question, especially if you lived in multiple countries already. And I sometimes work with people who moved countries, like not from their home country, but from their multiples of moves. And it's always tricky. Where are you from? You know, where is your home? Where are you going home? And there was this moment when I stopped saying I'm going home when I went to Hungary. And now I'm saying I'm going back to Hungary because
Mm.
Prague was my home. And I really felt like I'm home there. And people always ask me, are you going home for Christmas? I'm not going anywhere. I'm home.
I
Yeah.
felt that, like, but I always feel homesick to Turkey, and now also to Hungary. I feel homesick. I mean, it's been a long time. But when I go more than 3 days, I'm like, I'm getting homesick to here,
Hmm.
which is very interesting. Like, if you feel like nowhere is your home, but at the same time, everywhere is kind of your home.
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually deep. So, you know, uh, I would just ask you, Reka, that for someone who's listening right now to us, maybe they just moved, or maybe they have been abroad for years but still feel lost. Uh, what's that one thing that you would say that they can do today to take care of how they are feeling, to feel better, or just to take care of their inner world?
As an expat, I think one of the most important questions is to know why. Why are you there? Not
Mhm.
why did you originally go there? Why are you there right now? And that will help you figure out the next step, and that will help you figure out um, what is behind your uneasiness, or why you don't feel at home, or where you want to go next, or if you want to stay there. And this is never too late to ask. So the best is to ask yourself before you move to a place. And there's a difference between moving away from someone and moving to somewhere, moving away from somewhere and moving to somewhere. But just figuring out what is your inner driver, what is your motivating element to go or to be to that place. That's the key. So just choose a piece of paper or sit down with your laptop or something to write with, or turn on your camera on your phone and just talk to yourself. I recommend having silence or just very, like, soothing music, nothing else to distract you. And it's very hard to do, actually, to, be with yourself a little bit. But just, or go for a walk, and you don't have to sit, just to think about this. Why are you there? Or why are you going there? And then it could be that it changed since you moved, and you have a new why now. And it could be that you no longer feel at home there and you are longing for another spot or another life. And it's okay. All answers are valid, but you need to figure out what's in you, and that will help you figure out the next step.
I like that when you say, like, why right now, like that, because we kind of we always think of the process of why did you make that change? Like, you found work, you found a job, or school, or whatever, or followed your spouse. But it's good to just leave the past in the past, and right now, what is the best for you? Like, what serves you the best, right?
Yeah. Next level question: who am I in this country? And that's another long road. But I see that in my clients, and I see that in my friends as well, who are expats, and on myself, of course, that we are different people in different countries and in different phases. And it's not just because we are getting older, but different countries bring different layers out of us. There's a wonderful book. I recommend it everywhere all the time. It's called This Messy Mobile Life, and it's written by an expat who also lives in a multicultural family. And she writes about these layers so beautifully that every country adds a layer to your personality, and you will leave a layer there of yourself when you leave. And it's interesting to just sometimes check in with yourself. Who am I right now? Who am I on these layers? And what is it that I brought with me from my previous countries or previous places? and what is that I want to leave here when I go, what is that I don't like about myself which I picked up here, or which I originally had and I want to take down here. And
Mhm.
yeah, from Prague we took this not my problem, don't care attitude, so we don't get bothered and don't get stressed out by other people's drama. It was very useful.
Mhm.
And the more straightforward communication, which is also in my culture, in Hungarian culture, my partner took it on, I think. But I think it was always in him. It just came to the surface. And here with the Belgians, it's more of that kindness, politeness, that we turn to everyone, and we are more open-minded because this is much more multicultural than Prague was, and I see new things every day, like new type of people, new kind of people, and I'm just generally more not that open-minded, but like I don't get shaken by many things at this point.
Yeah. Mhm.
So
Now
these
that
are
you say it, actually, I do realize it as well. Like if I'm even a Turkish guy, I don't need to be in Turkey. But for example, my friends or family visit me in here, I become this person who's like very pushy. Like if they say no, I will just stuff the food in their mouth, and we will just have this conversation. Hi, how are you? Good. How are you? How good? How are you? Good. These kind of things. And if I go to Hungary, they don't know small talk at all. They hate small talk. They'll say, how are you? Tired. How was the weekend? Short. Uh, I just like completely turn that off, even in the Hungarian version. I'm like, I just need a drink right now. I'm in that mood. And when I'm with a Dutch one, it's just more like chill, like in a surface, but you're just talking whatever you feel like, super direct. But it's so crazy when you spot that layers on you that you carry, and then you just switch as soon as you're having a new interaction with someone else.
There was this story when we went to Hungary for the first time with my partner. We were just dating back then, and he came with me to Budapest. We spent there a few days, and I didn't even notice. And after we crossed the border, I became so grumpy. And like nothing was good, like nothing was good enough. I got pissed off on everything. And we got off the train in Budapest, and he turned to me like, look, I get that we are in Hungary, but if you are like this all the time, we will not be dating much longer. It's like a switch in you, and I'm like, what? I didn't even notice. And then I started to pay attention. And yes, I took this on me, like this grumpiness. I don't know how else to call it. This no small talk. This is killing me here. This hi, how are you everywhere in a shop. Like I won't tell you. You don't want to know. It's just a phrase. Like why? Yeah, and I didn't catch it. And since we live here, I more and more notice things. And sometimes I'm like, just like, oh my God, I'm so Hungarian.
How do you realize those things and then maybe shape it in a way?
Situations like how I get very stressed about dealing with any type of paperwork, expecting things on the process of the paperwork because I have it deep in me how things work in Hungary, and I expect it to work the same here, and it's not. Or like the post office, like every time I need to go to the post office, I'm so stressed. I look up all the words I will need, and I make sure I have everything written on two papers and everything marked properly, because if you don't do something correctly in Hungary, your package will get lost,
And they'll be mad at you.
and they will be mad at me because I didn't prepare something. And so I expect the same here, and it's not like that. So they put up with my terrible French, and they are trying to help me, and they are doing their best to figure out everything, even if there is some trouble. So yeah, these things, when I go into a situation and then I have this expectation and I'm stressing myself out, and then I'm like, oh my God, it's just my Hungarian. It's okay.
Well, I mean, I was really enjoying this conversation. Thank you. I really feel that, these conversations are so important. Uh, not not just because, I got to learn a lot myself, but I'm sure whoever is listening to us right now is learning something, at least one thing from this. Even if it's, just how things work in Hungary, even if it's just that, at least, you take away something from this episode. And uh, thank you so much for being a part of this and, enhancing this episode with this conversation. We feel very honored to have you, and it's really a pleasure, you know, to uh, to talk to you today. And I'm sure that we'll find more opportunities. Ozan, it's on you. We'll have to find more opportunities to talk to Reka and may invite her as a guest next time as well.
Exactly. I might also need some coaching now.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for the invitation. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I'm so happy to learn more about your stories as well.
We can talk about it for like a couple of hours, definitely, I think. Uh, but for the listeners, how can they reach you? How can they know more about what you do as a work, or even take part in some events like trainings or whatsoever?
Yeah, so my website and everywhere in social media is The Enchanted You. And that's how you can find me. It's theenchantedyou.com, and I'm The Enchanted You on Instagram,
Put the
Facebook.
links down below.
I have a small podcast on YouTube where I talk to people who are also expats. But yeah, everything I will give the links to Ozan, and you can reach out to me in email basically, or in like social media. And I regularly have some webinars where you can, learn more about expat life and how things go. And yeah, you can learn about the mentoring program or just simply chat about living abroad with me.
Well, all the links will be down below, so feel free to check her out. And thank you very much for coming, Reka. It was amazing to have you here and so many insights about our own experience as well with Henna. So
Yes.
thank you very much, and then
Thank you so much.
see you soon.
Thank you. And for anyone who's listening to us, if today's episode spoke to you, it helped you in something, share it with someone you might need to. And yeah, as always, keep minding your mind.
Keep on in your mind. That's how we should finish it from now on. I like that. Keep it on in your
Yeah.
mind. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.